another installment here at the Intensive Car Unit. Today we're finally going to get to work on the Scion, or the GT86, or whatever you guys call it, BRZ, the Toyota Twin, let's say. Today we're going to be pulling the radiator, draining the fluids, and taking an overall look at the health of the vehicle, as well as just getting the initial stuff torn apart, so we can go ahead and start our plan to swap in the ToyoRati engine into this little guy. So we're starting to get to the exciting side of things. But we still have a long way to go of taking stuff apart and just disassembly before we can actually get to the meat and potatoes of this swap. So sit back and enjoy. So the first thing we're actually going to get started with is removing the hood. But before I start just taking it off, I want to go ahead and mark it so I can get the base spot pretty well figured out, handled, and in position, because I don't want to have to fight with alignment and everything like that. So I just took a permanent marker, just drew on that so I could get it in position. Once that's off and removed, we're going to go ahead and start removing the headlights. Again, I'm just trying to protect stuff and get it out of the way, so I have the most space to work with as I'm trying to shoehorn this big old V8, this wide but shallow engine bay. And I mean, for the most part, this car is super simple to work on. Compared to the ToyoRati, this thing just falls apart. Everything's with either 10, 12, or 14 millimeter bolts. The ToyoRati was every single size that I had. Every time I turned around, it was another size bolt, because Italians, I mean, not my first time working on an Italian vehicle, and the same thing always held true. But I mean, as you can see, this thing is just, I can literally take it apart with a handful of basic tools that you can get anywhere. But we're just getting ready to pull everything out of the way, get the radiator core support, get the front bumper, actually remove the crash bumper, and get the radiator out of the way too. But it's this thing is so simple, so easy to work on. There's only a couple of times that I broke off bolts, and it's honestly not that big of a surprise. This thing, while relatively clean, was still on it was an Arkansas car, and you know, sometimes things still just rust just from sitting there and everything like that. So yeah, just sit back and enjoy as I finish taking this thing apart.
My appetite, don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're gentle and wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.
Doing crazy dreaming.
So in this part of the video, you'll actually see me removing the exhaust mid-pipe with the catalytic converter in there. For whatever reason, the Subaru engineers decided that they were going to go ahead and put a nut in a position where you can't necessarily get a good purchase on it with a socket. You can use a wrench, but as you see right there, it just spins off. It rounded the edge of that thing off real quick without too much effort. This is the second time I've had to deal with this with various Scions FRSs, so I'm going ahead and getting the torch out just to see if I can make it a little bit easier to remove it with a wrench. Ultimately, the torch doesn't work, even though I got it pretty hot. You can't really see it on this, but if you look carefully in that little gap, you'll notice that you'll start seeing some smoke. I actually thought that I might have caught some of the PB blaster on fire, so you'll see them blowing on occasion and just kind of freaking out just a little bit. So I ultimately ended up just taking a Sawzall to this thing. I thought I had the video for it, but I guess I didn't, or it was a corrupted file or something like that. So you don't get to see me go after it with a Sawzall, but you do get to see me pop it off. I actually cut the head of the nut off, and it's a flange nut, so I left the flange on there because I just couldn't get a good purchase on it, and ended up just snapping it off entirely. And you'll be able to see that on the next video as I go to grab a hold of it. Yeah, so here in the top left corner of the screen, you'll see a little bit of shiny thing. I'll point that out here in a second, and you'll watch it get to go pop off and fly off once I grab a hold of it and just yank on the exhaust, because at this point I'm pretty much just over messing with it. So and you'll see it pop off right about here. Now in this part of the video, you'll see I'm finally draining the oil out of it. I knew that it had a bad rod knock. The engine actually wouldn't run because the rod knock was so bad. But in this, I'm actually able to assess the health of the engine, and I'll give you a close-up after I try to give you a seizure with the way I'm shaking the camera. My light on my phone works best when I shake it. It'll show a light with that, but when I'm recording, for whatever reason, it won't. So you'll see me shake it like an idiot a few times and then realize I have to turn it on manually. But you'll notice when the light goes on, that gray streaks, that's all bearing material. You'll further notice, you'll see little sparkly things. I'm pointing that out right now. Again, bearing material. That is a catastrophic big end or rod to crankshaft bearing engine failure. Have to pull the engine out, gotta drain it, gotta fix it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the engine out and swap a Maserati engine into it instead, because that's way more fun. One thing I have learned working on cars over the years, whenever you're trying to remove exhaust, little rubber bushings that actually keep the exhaust in the position are actually pretty difficult to remove sometimes. I've learned to actually use PB Blaster or some other lubricating oil and spray it up into the painted side or the body side of the vehicle to help get it loosened up a little bit, and then pry off of that way. You remove it from the body side, and then that gets the exhaust out of the way to where you can actually get down on the ground and work on it a little bit easier, to where you can then pop that off and put on your new one. You'll see I'm spraying a little bit right there, just on that top body side. It moves a lot easier and it just gets off a lot faster. So yeah, that was just a little trick that I wanted to share with you guys too. Spray the paint side, not the exhaust side. All right, so we've been able to get the exhaust out after a little bit of fighting. A little bit more work than I thought it would be. We've been able to get all of the fluids drained out, the radiator out. a lot of the plastic panels and stuff out of the way so we can actually get to the process of removing the engine and transmission. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, please press the like and subscribe button. It helps me immensely. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched in a year. I know I've just started, but I've got a long way to go, and I can't do it without you guys, because the more support I get from you, the more badass things I can do in this garage, possibly on this car, or maybe on some other projects that I have brewing in the background. So again, if you're enjoying what you're watching, please press the like and subscribe button. And as always, stay safe.